Well, hello everyone. So I just saw The Phantom Thread, which is why I'm a bit more dressed up than normal, because I felt like the only way to talk about this movie is by getting dressed up a little bit. Because this movie is not only incredibly elegant looking, but every aspect of this movie I could describe as beautiful.
You can sew almost anything into the canvas of a coat. When I was a boy, I started to hide things in the linings of the garments. Things that only I knew were there. Secrets.
Good morning.
Will you have dinner with me?
The production design, the costume design, the cinematography, the performances, the score especially, is just gorgeous. Everything about this movie is beautiful, but before I get too much into that, let's discuss the plot a little bit here, because this is sort of what's deriving a lot of controversy for this movie. The plot is mainly about Daniel Day-Lewis's character, Reynolds Woodcock, I think is his name, and his new girlfriend, Elma, or Elma something, I can't remember her last name. So Daniel Day-Lewis meets this girl, they get to know each other, they fall in love, and they start to bloom a relationship in the midst of Daniel Day-Lewis's tailoring company. So he makes very pristine, elegant dresses for like queens of countries, of rich, famous people, all kind of rich people, more or less. So he's very meticulous in how he designs things. He's very mannered. He loves a structured routine, and that helps him sort of make these very elegant dresses. And so when he brings in this new girlfriend, Elma, his routine does get thrown off, and that's sort of what the main plot of this movie is just how these two characters interact and how they butt heads or how they help each other. This is a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and he has sort of gotten himself a big name in Hollywood for making these very meticulously well-crafted movies about characters. Most of his movies are very much these character pieces, like Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler and Inherent Vice with Joaquin Phoenix and The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman. So it was no surprise going into this movie that this was a very methodically paced character piece. And I love these kind of movies. I love the character pieces that really explore a person. And this movie is about two psychopaths, which was incredibly engaging for me.
I feel as if I've been looking for you for a very long time. You look beautiful. Very beautiful. I have things I want to do. Things I simply cannot do without you.
Reynolds has made my dreams come true, and I have given him what he desires most in return. Every piece of me.
Daniel Day-Lewis and Elma are absolutely nuts, and that is what makes this movie engaging. Without any action scenes, that's what makes this movie engaging. Their decisions, the way they interact with each other and other people, and how they structure their day around each other or not around each other is the most engaging part of this movie. Often I would be on the edge of my seat, tense, just by a simple conversation going back and forth, because I knew that there was something building in between them. I knew that there was like a bomb just over the horizon that I didn't see that was ready to go off. And that has a lot to do with Paul Thomas Anderson's script, which is fantastic. A lot of it just takes place in one location, but he finds new ways to shoot it and make it interesting. And the characters are so well fleshed out and realized here that it makes the one location feel like more, because you're actually engaged in the characters and not looking at the location so much. One thing that I've been hearing a lot of about this movie is the twist or the character decision about halfway through that sort of makes or breaks the movie. And I was waiting for this big reveal, like a sort of Sixth Sense reveal where the movie completely changes. And it never came. I know what people are talking about. There's a sequence in this movie where Elma has a spat with Daniel Day-Lewis, and they sort of separate. Daniel Day-Lewis tells her to F off and that she should go back to where she's from. And so she decides to take mildly poisonous mushrooms and spike his tea so that he gets horrifically sick for 2 or 3 days. And that is the big reveal or the character choice that has so many people divided on this movie. And while it doesn't sound like much, it does take Elma as a character in a completely new direction that I didn't expect. And it does make her more interesting for me. This movie becomes completely different with this one character choice. And it's this character choice that shows the audience that Daniel Day-Lewis has had an effect on her. When she first meets him and they are getting to know each other, she's this very headstrong person that is set in her ways, but she's also very forgiving of people and she lets things slide. And Daniel Day-Lewis is this horribly meticulous, borderline sociopath person that likes everything rigidly structured. And his personality seems to rub off on her. So when she doesn't get her way with him and he tells her to go away, she just poisons him and then takes care of him so that he loves her again.
So why are you not married?
Her arrival has cast a very long shadow.
She's barely looked at you this evening, has she?
May I warn you of something? My brother can feel cursed, that love is doomed for him.
I don't like the fabric.
Maybe one day you'll change your taste.
Maybe I like my own taste.
Just enough to get you into trouble.
Perhaps I'm looking for trouble.
Stop.
And I loved the choice that Paul Thomas Anderson makes here to make her a more interesting character. She basically becomes him. And there's even a point near the end when she's making this omelet with these poisonous mushrooms in it right in front of him. And so I was like, wait, what's going on? Does he know that they're poisonous? Does he know what's going on? And he takes a bite and says, I love you. And she basically tells him, yeah, I need this to happen if we want a relationship to continue. I need you to be sick so I can take care of you. And they let it happen. It seems like this vicious cycle of them liking each other, getting forcibly thrown apart, and then liking each other again through really horrific things. It's definitely commenting on relationships as a whole and how we sort of force a relationship even though it may not be for the best. And their relationship is incredibly toxic and unhealthy here. But they get through it by getting horribly sick so that one can tend for the other. Because you see this in the world so much where someone will break up with another person 3 or 4 times and then keep getting back together and you're not sure why. But this movie sort of deals with that because you could tell that they do really love each other, but they just hate these little things about each other. And so they try to get over these little things by doing other little things to kind of force them to forget about them. So it does comment on relationships as a whole, and I'm not sure particularly what it wants to say with that message, because I've only seen this once, but it does leave a lot to thought with it, and it leaves a lot to dwell on. And I know that sounds boring, but for me it wasn't, at least. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this movie. This movie is very methodically paced, and it's definitely a character study. There's no set pieces, there's no action sequences, there's no thrilling chases, there's no psychological warfare. It's just a character piece. And people not liking it is inevitable with movies like this, and that was sort of punctuated when a guy in my theater stood up and yelled, "This sucks! This movie sucks!" and then ran out and slammed the door behind him. That really happened. It was like halfway through the movie, and this guy just stood up and left in the middle of the movie and yelled at it. So people aren't gonna like it, I acknowledge that, but I at least say you should give this movie a try. If not for the things that I listed, like the production design, costume, score, cinematography, then for Daniel Day-Lewis, because this is his last performance. This is the last movie he will be in before he retires, because apparently he was dealing with some severe depression, and every time he takes on a role, he kind of crashes out of it, which is why he takes so long in between roles, because he gets so deep into the role that coming out of that role leads to some severe psychological distress for him.
Not quite sure what to do with yourself when it's finished. It's very hard to conceive of any kind of a life after it. Of course, there is one waiting.
So this is his last movie, and for that reason alone, you should check this movie out. And he is fantastic in this. His performance and the character that's written for him is so incredibly engaging, and all the little things that he does, like the death glares he gives people, are amazing. His performance is one of the best of the year. And I mean, that's not saying much because he's always one of the best of the year. He's quite possibly the best actor to ever live, but it's just fun to watch an actor that is a master of what they do, and he is a master.
Whatever you do it carefully.
But I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I think Paul Thomas Anderson has made his comeback after Inherent Vice wasn't that great. This movie is excellent. It's beautifully shot. The production design is incredibly exquisite. The costume design is immaculate. The characters are amazingly well fleshed out. All the performances here are fantastic. And Daniel Day-Lewis goes out with a bang in his last performance. He is absolutely incredible in this movie. And it does leave a lot open to thought at the end. Even though it's not a traditional thinker movie, it doesn't have an incredibly complex plot to try and unravel. It just leaves you with some themes and with some ideas. And I think that's sort of the best way to handle that. I think Paul Thomas Anderson really knows what he's doing. He knows that he doesn't have to beat you over the head with a message to make you think that message. He just subtly throws some things in there, and the plot basically gets wrapped up in a nice clean bow at the end, but it just leaves you with these little ideas that some people may take and run with, like I have, and some people will absolutely hate. And I realize that. This movie, again, is not for everyone. It's methodically paced, it's very slow, but it's rewarding for anybody that bears with it. It's a very rewarding experience that has a lot to offer, and I think everyone should at least try it. Everyone should go see it, if not just for Daniel Day-Lewis's final performance, because it's fantastic. So I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I think it's basically flawless. My only issues are with some pacing near the end. I felt like it could have ended a couple different times, and it just keeps going. But other than that, this movie is basically flawless, and it's a great way to start 2018. So anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.